Hello there, this is Jordan with Damn Good Technology, and this is a Python and Django crash course for experienced programmers. So this is for people that already have programming experience, so mid-level and senior developers. If you're just starting out programming or you're a junior developer, you might have some difficulty in this. So I'd recommend going back to an intro to Python tutorial and learning Python, learning programming, and then jumping back into this. And if you'd like to see me do an intro to Python tutorial, like you like my style, then please say so in the comments. But before we begin, I'd like to invite you to like this video, share it with a friend, and subscribe to my channel. This would mean a lot to me, and I am here to provide value to you and your team. And so if you subscribe, you'll get the best tips and tricks in order to level up your team to get to the next level. But that said, let's begin by installing. And so if you haven't installed Python yet, then go to your browser and go to python.org. You will see this page pop up. And so on this page, go to the downloads, go to the downloads link right there. And then you will come to this page, download Python, and follow the instructions. This is, as you'll see, Python is made for just about every single operating system out there. There's even Python available for, rather, your package manager may even have Python already, all ready to go if you just do, like in Ubuntu, if you do apt install Python. Um, if you have Choco installed in Windows, you can do Choco install Python, and it'll install all the necessary packages for Python. And so once you have that installed, then we can go open up our favorite code editor. Like for me, I'm using VS Codium. It's essentially VS Code with the telemetry disabled. Shout out to the devs that released this. I would recommend installing some packages to get situated. I would recommend looking for Python extension pack. I mean, this won't necessarily cause you to cause a complete stop in your learning of Python, but this is just very helpful in adding some tools and tips and other stuff for coding. If it doesn't install already, I would also recommend installing Black. We need to install packages later on to get this to work, but it's just good to have this installed, ready to go. And I mean, if you want to take a look at this list and install other ones that I have here, Python Test Explorer, that's kind of helpful, although it looks like this is actually, um, okay, yeah, that depends on something else. So we'll get to that later. For now, let's just hop right into programming. Just so you know, Python is a scripting language. And so that means that as opposed to something like Java or C or C++, you don't necessarily need to compile it in order to run it. Actually, normally you don't compile it. Normally just run it. And so with that, you need to run with Python. That's the executable in Windows. It might be python.exe, but if you type Python, now we don't want to run this just like this. We just to check to see if we have it installed, we want to say dash dash, excuse me, dash dash version. And as you see, my Python version is a little outdated. That's all right. It still has the necessary features to run a lot of the code that I'll be showing you today. If you did type in Python and you enter the Python shell, don't freak out. You might be tempted to hit Control C. That's not going to work. Instead, hit Control D, which will get you out of the shell. If you're on Mac, it's probably Command D, but that should get you out of the shell. And now we can actually begin programming. So later on, I will be talking about modules, but for now, we will be starting off with files, just simple basic scripts. So we create our first file, main.py. For simple script files like this, it's fine to name, you can name it whatever you want. For convention, typically the entry point in a script is called main.py. And so we want to start out with this main.py as kind of the intro. And so this believe it or not, this is actually a valid, 100% valid Python script. We can run this as is. And for that, we do Python and then type in the name of the file, main.py, and it runs. I know, some of you are probably freaking out right now. Don't freak out, it's fine. Python considers this valid. And actually, Python considers this valid as well. So if you type in 4, hit save, and then python main.py, congratulations, you just ran your first Python program with code. Now, obviously, if you type in 4, that's not going to do anything. If you send it to your team is going to scream at you. Obviously, we need code in this. And so let's start actually typing code that actually does something. So typically with a file, we start with kind of a header. We start with user, then end, Python. I usually do Python 3. You don't necessarily need to do that. Python is fine. A note about this. If you use Windows, Windows will ignore this. Windows doesn't care about the header. Linux, it does definitely like the header. It's not necessary, like the program, as you saw, the program ran just fine without it. It's just table manners. It kind of cues editors and cues the shell into saying, okay, yeah, this is a Python file. Cool, I'll treat it as such. So we have Python 3, and now we start our program. So this is our very first code that we're going to write, and we'll write hello world. And here I'll take kind of a little detour into fully understanding what's going on here with strings. So I'll introduce you to Python strings. They're similar to what you're used to in other languages, like in C and C++ and in Java. It's basically open and close parentheses, right? The Python also, you can also use sorry, I didn't mean parentheses, I meant quotation marks. You can also use single quotation marks to denote a string. Typically, though, we want to use open quotation marks. And I'll just do hello world. But again, if you want to use single quotation marks, that's fine. It's just convention tends to be double quotation marks. Unless you have a double quotation mark in here. I'll show you that in a bit. So we have hello world, and we can actually run it. Obviously, it doesn't show anything because we just have a string that says hello world. Obviously, you might be thinking, oh, we want to print it to the console. We do. So in Python, there is a function for that called print. This does not mean print a page, pull up the print in console. Like in JavaScript, if you write print, then it'll pop up the print console, which always seemed weird to me. But yeah, so print essentially says, hey, just print hello world. And in early Python, you would not include these parentheses. In latest Python, like in Python 3 and beyond, you do need to include these parentheses. So this calls the print function with the string hello world. So now we should be able to print main.py. And as you see, we have hello world. I think I might change my window a little bit because I don't think you can see kind of like the ending there. Okay, there you can see the last line. Okay. So we just printed out hello world. A few things to notice is that this printed out to standard out by default. There are ways of printing out to standard error, we can cover that later, but just know that print by default prints to standard out. Also note that print always adds a new line by default. I mean, there are ways around to not add a new line, but by default, it adds a new line. This is dissimilar to what you're used to in other languages, where it just kind of prints to standard out, and you don't have a new line, and you have to add to your new lines. This is kind of a neat feature. Some people are annoyed by it, others like it. But yeah, so that's a beginning program. So what do the error traces look like in Python? I want to show you this really quick so you aren't kind of put off by it if something goes wrong. let's intentionally make it an error. Let's not add a closing quotation mark. As you can see, my IDE doesn't like this. It says, ah, it warns me. Okay, let's say I didn't have enough coffee, or I just am like, you know what? I don't like you, IDE. I don't trust you, and I want to run this program myself. Python is very helpful in showing you where stuff goes wrong. I find it to be one of the better stack traces in languages. Some people might disagree with me. You're more than welcome to sound off in the comments. But I found that it's a lot better than Java, a lot better than C and C++, where it just goes you directly. Um, but yeah, for now, let's just continue to, but yeah, so I corrected the error on line 3. We can get into more error correction later. So yeah, we have our first Hello World program. Congratulations, you have written your first executable Python program with code. But obviously this is pretty simple. You came here to learn a crash course in Python. Gosh darn it, we're not going to do simple commands like this. I hear you. Let's move on to how to properly kind of create a script file. So we have this print right here. We don't want just straight up print right here, because if we import this main into another module, let's say, then it will print hello world. If we import it 100 times, it'll print hello world 100 times. We don't want that. So let's define a function. How do you define a function in Python? It's similar to other languages like Java, or sorry, like JavaScript, where you don't define the type, but you simply define this is a function. For that, we use the keyword def, and then the name of the function, say hello, then open and close paren, and then colon. Yes, for Python, there are no curly braces except for dictionary types. We'll get to that soon. But we essentially only use colons and tab or space delineated indent. There is a war going on in Python, well, in languages in general, about whether you use tabs or spaces. It's personal preference. I believe in space delineation, space indentation. Other people believe in tab indentation. Both camps are correct, okay? It just depends on your team. But in this case, I'll just be using space indentation because I like it. But yeah, in Python, you do need to indent properly. In Python, you can just put your indents wherever, you know, in C and C++ and other languages like that, you can put your indents wherever, and the compiler will not care. In Python, Python cares about indents. Like if you do 2 spaces right here and then print hello world, Python is going to complain. Oh, whoops. Pi. It's going to complain because the unindent does not match the indent. So if you come across that error, just look for times when the indentation didn't match up. For me, it typically happens if I copy something from the internet. You know, someone was using like 2 spaces and I pasted it into the code. But yeah, just something to be aware of. Also note, kind of a little side trail here, there are no semicolons in Python. You can use semicolons if you want. I can have and hello world, and Python will treat this as 2 separate lines. Typically, we don't do that. You're more than happy to if you're like, I miss my colons. Your colleagues would probably yell at you, but you're more than welcome to add semicolons everywhere. But typically, Python doesn't do that. So we have our function hello world. If I run it right now, it's not going to print hello world. You can probably see why. But I'm going to run it right now to show you. Yeah, it doesn't print hello world like we want. And probably the astute observers, or if you're not astute, yeah, that's totally fine. You're welcome to. The astute observers have probably seen that we're defining say hello, but we're not calling it. So we can call it right here. This is perfectly valid. We can say hello. Yeah, we printed hello world. But remember earlier I was saying that if we do print hello down here, or print hello world down here. Then if we import main, it will print everywhere we import it. So in order to guard against that, we actually add an if statement, and we actually add a main name guard. But I forget exactly what it's called. I think it's an if guard. But you might have seen these in C and C++ in order to guard against circular imports. This is kind of similar, kind of a similar concept, but we do it by using the implicit underscore name variable. I'll show you what I mean. This is also a good intro to if statements in Python, which is similar to other languages. So we'll say if, and then we use underscore underscore name. Oops, new name. Name equals. So this is, you're used to seeing this. This is the equality operator. It's not any different from other from the equality operator. It's not any different from the equality operators in other languages. But what would the name be, you ask? It would actually be main. So if name equals main, then we call say hello world. Then we call say hello world. That sounded weird, but it made sense. Okay. So yeah, typically in a program we won't do this. We won't directly call a function like say hello world. Typically what we do is we define a main function. And syntax checkers like Black will even complain if the main function is too long, like it wants you to call something else from main. But we typically call main from this if guard. So I'll call it, and then from main I will call say hello. Yeah, stop complaining. Okay, this might look a bit confusing, but let me kind of walk through it. So name is an implicit variable that Python uses, and if you run it from Python main, then the value of name will be main. So if you execute it like this, Python will assign main to name, and then it says, oh, okay, yeah, it is main. I'll call main. However, if you import say hello from main, or yeah, if you import something from main, sorry, then Python will not set name to main. It might be something else like extra module, blah, blah, blah. And so it will not execute main, and so you can safely import stuff. And so if we run Python main.py, we see hello world. In order to kind of show what name is, I mean, I've already described it, but I can show you. I'm going to kind of introduce function arguments. Now that we have functions, I can show you function arguments. And so instead of saying hello world, let's say we want to say hello to a name. I'm also going to introduce you to how to format a string, because there are a few ways. And so we have, so we call our main, we say hello world. And so if we want to pass our name into main, we would just pass it in like this. Okay, I'm going to define it in a bit. So yeah, we pass name into main. And then for main, okay, this got a little more complicated than I thought, but it's okay, bear with me. And now let's say we wanted to create a new argument name. So we would have name and pass that into say hello world. So we're passing the arguments down. And now, oh yeah, and notice this is me defining name as an argument of the main. If you come from a statically typed language, you may get very nervous about this. Like we're not declaring our types here. If you come from JavaScript, a JavaScript background, you might be thinking, what's the big deal? Yeah, I totally get it. I'll hold on 1 second, and I can kind of alleviate people's concerns on that. But we call main with name. We say hello world name. Now in say hello world, we also declare an argument name. Now here is where we use it for hello world. So the there are a couple ways where we can format a string. The probably the base way of doing it, the OG way, is with printf style strings. And if you've used C before, or if you've used Golang, this should be familiar. And probably if you printed to the console in JavaScript before, it should be familiar too. It's %s. The placeholders are the same as with C placeholders. So S is string, C is car, I is int, stuff like that. However, we are not going to be using a comma here because we are going to be formatting the string, not passing arguments to print. So for that, there is actually an operator % that Python uses for its string type that we then format the arguments in. And so then we just pass in name. If we want to pass in more than one argument, I can get to that in a second, but we essentially pass it in as a tuple. Again, I'll get to that in a second. But now we've passed in everything, and so yeah, we pass in the name, the implicit variable name, into main, and then pass it all the way down to say hello. So now if we run the program, hello main, congratulations. So let me alleviate the concerns of the people, of the statically typed people who are freaking out right now. So you may be freaking out like, what, there are no types in Python? Well, I mean, there are, but we can reassign to different types and Python will not complain. Like if we want to do names for, we can do that. Python is just fine with that. And in fact, this is really freaky. This might freak some of you out. We can actually do name is for. I would not recommend doing this, but Python will not stop you. Your colleagues will definitely stop you, but Python will not. But that said, Python does have a typing module. It does have type hints similar to TypeScript, and I will show you how to do type hinting. So let's start with the def say hello world. The name argument is type stir, which is a string. And so we do colon and then stir. Yeah, I know, another colon. But we essentially separate the variable and the type, which is a primitive string, which, yeah, again, Python won't complain if you pass in a number, but this cues developers and cues IDEs into warning you if you're passing in an invalid data type, or an invalid data type, variable type. So in say hello world, we pass in the string, and we can even do it here, name stir, and this kind of cues it in. Yeah, so see if you hover over say hello, it shows that we expect name to be a stir. And so if we pass in like 4, I don't think Python will complain here. I think black will. But yeah, so for some reason the extensions in this IDE aren't complaining about it. Some more might, but yeah, we can just pass in name. So with the typing, of course, it'll work. Okay, so let's say we want to pass in an optional name. Here I'll introduce the concept of optional arguments and default arguments. So we have name here, but let's say we want to pass in hello world. Well, let's say we want to pass in, let's say we want to say hello world if name is not given, otherwise say hello name. Let's say we want to call, yeah, so let's skip passing in name as an argument. Let's just do it for say hello world. Let's say we want to say hello Jupiter. Okay, so since we're passing in Jupiter, this is this is a required argument. Name is required argument, and we have hello Jupiter. If we eliminated Jupiter, then we'd get an error. Python tells you that it requires one positional argument, name, which we did not include. And so we either need to include it or we need to make this argument optional. To make the argument optional, we do it similar to what you would do in Golang or in JavaScript or TypeScript. We do an equal sign, so kind of a pseudo assignment equals, and then we add a default argument world. If you want, you can remove this typing syntax. This is perfectly valid for a type hint because the developer will see, oh, okay, yeah, you're just passing in world, which is a string, so obviously you expect it to be a string. But I want to be verbose in this tutorial, so I'll just leave that in there. And now, if you call hello world, if you don't pass in a name, it will just, or yeah, if you call hello world without any arguments, it will say hello, hello world, like that. Okay, so we have default arguments, but what about optional arguments? Like, let's say we want a variable number of arguments in, say, hello world, and we want to kind of figure it out depending on the input. So for that, we would use a combo. So I'll show you the syntax first, and then I'll explain it. So we have args and kwargs. So these are so arguments is I believe it's a list or a tuple. It's a sequence basically. And kwargs is a dictionary. And so essentially within say hello world, if you want to pass in optional arguments and you don't know how many or what they're called, you pass in args and kwargs. So I'll show you what that looks like just by assigning random variables. And so with args, remember how we did the name is hello or name is world for Jupiter? What do we have? In args is positional arguments basically, and so we would not assign anything, but we would have 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, let's just pass those in as variable arguments. Keyword arguments, though, are dictionaries and they look like assignments. So we would have key 1 is value 1, key 2 is value 2, and note that we didn't declare them at all anywhere except here as arguments for say hello. This seems a bit archaic, but perhaps if I print out what args and kwargs is, it will make sense. So print args equals, and then I'm not going to format it. I'm just going to pass it in as, this basically appends args to whatever's printed out. I'll do print kwargs equals kwargs. Python is pretty good about representing variables. Like if you do this, since args is a list and kwargs is a dictionary, these are primitives. So Python will just print it out as is. So as you can see, we have a tuple. Yeah, I was right. It's a tuple. So we have a tuple of args 1, 2, 3, 4, and then kwargs is a dictionary. So you might be thinking, okay, can we like have the keyword arguments first and the list second? No, we can't really do that. Python will complain at us. Yeah, see, it expects position arguments to be first, keyword arguments to be second. And our IDE is even complaining at us. So let's put it back to normal. However, we can have named positional arguments first. So first var, in which case we would have to assign first, we would have to pass in an argument for first var. Likewise, we can have a default argument. So default arg is something, in which case we can pass it in or not. However, this would need to be, this can't be here. This would have to be, since it's not a positional argument, we would have to put it right here before keyword arguments. And it would still run. I mean, we can print out default arg if we want. I'm not going to bother. Okay, hopefully you were able to follow along. So if you've done C and C++, this is similar to, this is the exact same thing as VA args, but obviously it's a whole lot simpler. You don't need to like set a pointer to something and iterate over the list. You can just say, all right, give me the key. Yeah, so kind of a little side trail to this. Let's just erase the args and kwargs. Let's say we want to get something from kwargs, but we aren't sure if it's there, and we want to set a default. So I'll do print, and here's another way to format strings. It's similar to it's similar to the backticks. If you've done TypeScript through JavaScript at all, it's similar to the backtick formatting. But in Python, we would just receive the string with F and do quotation marks, again, open or close. And then we do a curly brace. And then in the curly brace, if you're used to JavaScript, you don't put a $sign before that. I mean, you can, but you could just print out a $sign. Just do open curly brace. We can include a variable here, and I'll define the variable later, but for now I'll just put it in as reading, and then comma, and then name. All right, and so here we want to print a greeting with a name. So we want to extract it from kwargs. So we would do greeting is kwargs greeting. kwargs is a dictionary, and then the open and close bracket basically gets the gets the value with the key greeting. You're probably used to seeing this in Java or C++, well, not C, but C++, and other languages with indexing, with hash maps and stuff like that, by getting a key like greeting. And we can say name is kwargs name. So now within say hello world, we would, well, I mean, we can keep this if we want. I'm not going to. We would need to do greeting is hello, name is world. And I want to make it proper. Okay. And now if we run it, we say hello world. Now, if we eliminate one of these, like let's say we want to not include name, then we would actually get an error, because Python, if we use these square brackets for accessing a value from a dictionary, Python needs it to exist if we use one of these accessors. However, we can use a dictionary method in order to access it or provide a default. We do kwargs.get, so we're calling a function. So instead of square brackets, we would do circular brackets, curved brackets, parentheses. That's what they're called. I need more coffee, man. Okay, so we have reading, and so we have the key, but we can also provide a default. Our default is hello. And same with this. If name doesn't exist, then the default value is world. So now we can I'll say hello and it will, um, we can call the program, not reset. And oh boy, yes. You see the problem? kwargs.yet. My mistake. See, even seniors can make mistakes. Um, and I'm a senior developer, not senior citizen. You young whippersnapper, stop getting after me about my age. All right. But yes, we have hello world. Yeah, so yeah, that's Python and functions and how to execute them. Um, let's see what next. I covered typings, and so next time, as a teaser, to follow this crash course, we will talk more about creating classes, class methods, and we'll be building upon that in order to talk more about importing and packaging management. It's going to be more in depth. We'll probably cover some more variable stuff kind of sprinkled in, but since you're experienced, I kind of already assume you know somewhat about syntax in general and how to like do a for loop and an if statement and all that. I mean, Python has its own syntax for stuff like that, but I will assume you know how they work, how they operate. Um, and that's why I'm kind of doing a crash course in order to build upon what you already probably know. But that said, this is Python. I would love to hear you down in the comments if you found this helpful. Maybe if I was moving too fast, if I was moving too slow. Um, Maybe comment on what language you're coming from and why you're making the transition. I'd love to hear it. I'd love to get feedback on this tutorial and I can make the next lesson all the better. But that said, this has been Jordan with Damn Good Technology. If your team needs a tech lead as a consultant, as someone, or even someone on the team full time, I would love to talk with you. So please head on over to damngood.tech. You can also send me an email to jordan@damngood.tech to set up a consultation, a free 1 hour consultation, and I would love to have a chat with you. With that said, I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. I look forward to making the next one and putting it out. And as a reminder, let's practice kindness because I care about you and your business. Thank you.